The difference between HTML and HTML5. HTML5 has been a bit of a buzzword over the last several years. Now there's been previous versions of HTML, but none of them are really touted as being HTML3 or HTML4. I think the main reason that this version was given a more specific name was because it was the first upgrade that really had some impressive features worth talking about. Now, to really understand the benefits of HTML5, let's first talk about some of the previous versions and what the differences were. Now, for the most part, the versions of HTML dealt with trying to give designers and coders better control over aligning objects on a page and really greater control over tables and things like that. Now, these were small but important changes at the time. Now, remember that HTML is the coding language for browsers, so when writing HTML, the browser is what interprets that code and makes it something visual. Things have improved greatly over the years, but back when we were coding in HTML3, a site might display a lot differently from browser to browser. So the ability to have more control over how your web page looked was really important. When HTML4 came out, more tags were available, giving users greater control over the web pages, and browsers started to standardize how they display their code. One big change that came out around this time was the different types of HTML4, like transitional, which was for users transitioning from a web page using older versions of HTML. Now, the other option was HTML strict, or what some people called XHTML, which was, as the name implies, a much more strict form of HTML that required your code to be written a certain way to attempt to have it look the same across all browsers. Now, you might not notice some of the subtle differences between these variations of code, but sites like, let's say, Constant Contact still require XHTML code for its e-blasts. HTML5 has gotten away from how strict this code was and really cleaned up a lot of the extra code that was in previous versions, as well as given us a bunch of new features that help to move away from plugin-dependent code like Adobe Flash to do cool things like play games and watch videos. So first, let's take a look at the very first line of code in an HTML file. Here's what was required in an HTML4 file. And here's what it looks like now in HTML5. It's much more simple and clean. There's less code. The less code that you have on your page, the faster it loads, so this was a smart choice. Previously, you needed something like Flash Player to be able to let visitors watch video or listen to audio files on your site. Those users would need a plugin installed before being able to watch it, so you're possibly alienating some of your users. With HTML5, you no longer need these players, and you can just do it by simply adding a video or audio tag, something not previously available in HTML4. Now, later as we get into CSS, you're going to see how nice this feature is, but some of the new tags were added to define areas of the page, like header and footer, and nav, and article, where before you had to create these with custom CSS div tags. Additionally, HTML5 brought out a bunch of advanced features like Canvas, which lets users draw on the page with the help of some JavaScript, drag and drop capabilities to upload files, geolocation APIs, things like that. With all these new features, programmers have actually started creating games that run on HTML5, as well as web and mobile apps using it. HTML5 has become a very powerful upgrade with potential to be an even more powerful coding language in the upcoming years.